Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Billy Dees podcast. I'm absolutely thrilled that you are here. Just a reminder, we're getting picked up all of the time by different platforms, so you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, on down the line. And anywhere else you find us, let me know, because that's pretty cool. And you can tweet me, real easy to find on Twitter at Billy Dees. On the phone with me today, I have Rob from the Rob and Slim Show. What's going on, man?
Not much. Just living a COVID paradise. How you doing, Billy?
A COVID paradise. You know, that's interesting because I'm going to ask you about that because it has impacted what we do, podcasting and stuff.
Yeah.
It sure has. You can find Rob and Slim. Now, they are the Rob and Slim Show on Twitter, so it's just at Rob and Slim Show. And they participate in a hashtag that I often participate in, and that is hashtag Modern Family. Now, what that is, if you are a podcaster, that's great. But even if you are a fan of podcasting, do check out that hashtag Modern Family. You have a lot of really great podcasters on there sharing each other's episodes and interacting with each other, promoting each other. And if you are a fan of podcasting, and I know you are, you can get some really great ideas for different shows, some new stuff, some new genres. So do check it out. That is the hashtag Modern Family. All right, Rob. Well, let's kind of start with you. What part of the world are you located in?
I'm in New Jersey. The bottom, right on the shore.
Okay, have you been there your whole life, or?
No, I grew up in North Jersey, about 10 minutes from New York City, but in the 90s, my family decided to move down here because it's a lot more affordable for housing.
Yeah. We're going through that here in Ohio. My wife and I have been kicking around the idea of getting a new place. And right now, in Ohio anyway, I don't know what it's like nationwide, but it's a seller's dream. If you are selling, you know, you're great. But if you're buying, everything goes. I mean, as soon as it lists, it's gone. And people are actually paying more than what the asking price is. That's what the...
Yeah, I heard there's like it's amazing time. I have people just bid like crazy online for homes.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. You are, like you said, you're New Jersey guy. What about your partner Slim? What is that? What we refer to him as? Is that what you call him on the show?
Yeah, he goes by Slim. He grew up down here, so he's always been down here.
Okay, you guys, how did you guys partner up? Did you guys just happen to be like hobbyists, or you guys both had the same interests? How did that happen?
Years ago, back in I guess the late '90s, early 2000s, I worked in radio and got fired, and I always had the itch to get back in, but it's not a great paying industry, so I never got back into it. And then once podcasting started, I was trying to find somebody that would do something. Everyone said they were down. Nobody ever came through. And one day, I worked with Slim, and he just came up to me. He's like, "Me and my cousin are trying a podcasting. If you want to get on board," because I think he had heard me talking to another friend at some point. And I was like, "Yeah, let's try it out." And we did, and we've been going ever since. I think we're starting our 7th year. In a week or two.
Wow. That is fantastic. 7 years. That's a long haul for this. That is. Yeah, that's a long haul.
It is.
Now, you guys do the season. So you're starting your new season in September for 2020 in the fall season. And with that being said, how would you describe your show? Because I notice a lot of times you have guests on there, and sometimes it's a pretty conservative conversation. And then there's other times when you guys are just rolling, man. So how would you describe your show? Because you guys, it seems like, and I'm going to ask you about this too, it seems like you're a naturally funny guy. So how would you describe your show?
Yeah, well, that's it. It's. I always describe it to the people that I haven't heard it before as like an hour and a half of like dark humor skits and like news and all that. And then we followed up with like 4 half-hour interviews with actors, comedians, etc.
Yeah. You've had some really prominent entertainment folks on there, so that's really cool. Now, were you always the class clown? Were you one of those guys that always had something funny to say, or?
Yes, and I remember senior year I got class clown, and my friend Danny was so mad because he was always a funny kid when we were younger.
Yeah.
And by the time like senior year rolled around, everyone knew how hilarious I was, and I got it, and he was so mad. He was so mad at me.
Yeah. What is, you had mentioned COVID down there in your part of the world in New Jersey. What's happening there? Are people wearing masks? Are people afraid? What's kind of the combination? I know in New York it got really bad there for a while.
Yeah, I think we've handled it pretty well. I'm pretty sure, our cases are lower at this point where other states are shooting up. It's mandatory to go in any establishment. You have to wear the mask. I've seen people, trying not to. I've actually seen where people are recording them. I don't know if they're going to send it to the governor or what. I've seen a lot of fights break out. People are just, ever since it started, though, people are just the worst, I feel like. It brings out the worst in them. They're all miserable and nasty to deal with. But I don't know. Hopefully we're going to be all right with this. But I see the numbers all the time, and our deaths and all for the world are pretty staggering. So I don't know what's going on in the States.
Well, it's interesting because I've said this before. I got friends that are like at the top of the food chain in terms of intelligence. These are guys that are really smart. Some of them are doctors and so on. And then I got other friends that being smart just was never at the top of their list. Nothing against them; they're great guys, but they just don't care that much about information. But instantly, they become on the same plane when they're talking about these masks. I mean, they get in these fights on Facebook and all this stuff, and it's the most juvenile stuff. I don't know what it is about these masks that just brings out dumb. Go ahead.
I feel like I've gotten dumber since wearing it, just in my regular everyday work and all. Like, I find myself making so many stupid mistakes. I really do think they dumbed us down or something. I think it's like breathing your own exhaust in and how hot it gets. Like, you can't even think straight. But and I've seen the fights, and I've seen it like where it's become political almost. Where if you're a certain supporter, you don't wear the mask. Like, what is that? They're just trying to save us from not dying from a pandemic. I don't get how it's been coined that way. Only in America has that happened, I feel.
Yes, and it's one of those things where whether or not a certain person feels the masks are doing any good or not, that could be another argument. But what I don't understand is it really asking too much to make somebody else feel good, especially somebody that works in a store that's got people leaning in their face all day over a counter. Is it really Is it really asking too much just to put a mask on while you're in there? I mean, is that really violating your rights? And then
no.
And then then there's the people. This is the latest sign of the Antichrist. And you got to go down that whole thing. It's really amazing how this thing with the masks have spun out of control. If this is the Armageddon, this is a really lame start. I really wanted something else. Yeah, I would have been. I would have been expecting more from the Antichrist. Quite frankly, I'm very disappointed that this is the way that he's going. In regard to podcasting, and technically you guys do live internet radio, is that correct? And then your show is available as a podcast?
Yeah, that's correct. We broadcast live on Facebook and IPMNation.com/live too, and then a couple days later, Slim will cut the breaks out, and then upload it to iTunes and all the rest.
Oh, cool. Podcast listeners are generally creatures of habit. They're routine. So a lot of times people, and I found this to be true on LinkedIn as well. People will, in the morning, as part of their morning routine, they'll check out their LinkedIn and see what notifications they have before they go to work. And on their way to work, they'll listen to a podcast, or lunch, they'll listen to a podcast, whatever. And now those routines, for the most part, for a lot of people, don't exist anymore. They don't have that discipline of having a routine, and they're working from home, or possibly they're working a different thing altogether than what they were before. So their habits of listening have gotten interrupted, and it's caused some fluctuations with podcast listening. Is this something that you guys have experienced, or hasn't it affected you that much?
I haven't seen it that much. I still get, the average amount of listens and downloads and all that. We seem to always be on the rise as far as all that goes. So, yeah, no, I haven't really noticed any issues as far as that.
Well, that's good, because I've noticed that I don't have clusters of listens anymore. The overall listens haven't fallen off that much, but they're spread all over the place. They're absolutely.
Oh, well, yeah. Now that you bring that up, I have noticed that. Where it's not a huge amount any certain day. But we also haven't been posting a new one. We've been off since the end of June, so that also happens with us.
Yes. Speaking of celebrities, a lot of celebrities now are getting into podcasting. And, here's the thing. Here's my opinion on this, and then I'll have you respond to it. Podcasting has been built by little people, little guys. And, these are the people who set the medium up. They are the ones who brought new talents to the medium. They brought voice back, which is incredible, because I'm an old voiceover guy like you, radio and all that, and I've always been into audio, and voice has been resurrected, not only with podcasting, but with all the streaming devices now, the interactive audio devices in the home that you can ask questions to and everything. Voice has been resurrected, and that's all a good thing. But now that it's become big, you have big celebrities coming in who, quite frankly, don't come from that world. They're just taking the audio from their TV program and repurposing it, or they're doing other things. And it's a double-edged sword, because when you have big celebrities coming on with podcasts, it does bring in an audience that might not necessarily try out podcasting. So they bring in new people. But by the same token, what worries me is just like with radio stations now, you have the same 3 or 4 companies own every single radio station in the country. And I don't want that to happen with podcasting. I don't want every podcast to sound the same. The same material, the same big stars going on their book tours. Do you have any feelings about that? Have you noticed that at all?
I agree with that. I've never thought of it on that aspect. I just feel like when the big celebrities try, they might have a season where they're interesting or good, and then it just degrades to like them talking to a friend every episode. And I don't ever get into the big ones, but I have never thought of it where it's been like you said, what is it, Greater Media, and what's the other one that owned like every radio station?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that would come to like a podcast level.
Yeah, and I won't mention any names, but there's been a couple of deals here sealed up within the last month that were in the tens of millions of dollars, involving Spotify, And I just don't want it to get to the point where the little guy doesn't get heard, because they're the ones who created the medium. They're the ones who popularized it, and then the big guys come in and kick in the door when they realize that there's money there, and it changes. It really changes. Yeah. I've traveled around the country, and top 40 radio stations are playing the same. So even the commercials sound the same. The segues sound the same. The when they run their their Power Mix 95, it's the same guy. It's like it's and I hope that I hope that doesn't happen, but. Anyway, that's kind of where we're at. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing, and I just hope the balance is there. Celebrities bring in some new people, but by the same token, the little guy still has a chance. Now,
on that note, though, real quick, I had somebody I spoke to recently who was an established like news anchor and all that, in the past, and they've just recently started a podcast, and they've been struggling to build an audience. So I've heard like big people like that, talk to me personally and just say they can't, build a show up. So it is still a hard grind, I feel.
I feel that it is. I feel that a celebrity has the power to bring in an initial audience, which a small guy may not, but holding them is another thing. If your show is crap, okay, it's only going to hold the audience for so long. They'll forgive once or twice, but if it's continually that way, they're going to fall off no matter who you are. Now, you had mentioned, I had asked you about your humor and some other stuff. Do you have a certain angle on something that you find funny? When you're creating material, I don't know, do you write stuff? Do you make notes? You hear something in the news and you say, hey, you know what, that's kind of funny, and you write that down. What is your process for being funny?
Yeah, I'm always I always keep paper and pen on me, no matter what. If I'm at work and something comes to me, I'll jot it down real quick. I do browse through the news, and a lot of it's just right off the top of my head. When we do the news stories, I'll find them, and if they look funny by the headline, I'll throw them in our group, and then we'll go from there. But I've never pre-read them or anything. That stuff is all just off the cuff, but there is stuff that I write. I write weekly segments and all that. But I do like a whole bunch of different stuff. But yeah, I've also never had a problem where I've sat down to write, that skit for the week, and I thought, I wouldn't have any ideas. But every time I do, it just all comes right to me. And I've noticed too, sometimes dealing with the darkest stuff in my personal life, that I'll write some of the funniest stuff.
Yeah. I've kind of been that way. Sometimes a bad experience can be fruit for humor, and you just gotta, you just gotta kind of spin it the right way. Have you ever done stand up? You seem like a guy who would do well.
Oh, I tried. I wanted 2 years ago. I had signed up for an open mic night. It was not too far north of here, and I went and Brewer was the headliner, so that was awesome. But I got there, I signed in, and I told them, this is my first night. I've never done stand up before, and they were like, okay, sit down, and when it's your turn, we'll call you. And as the show's going on, me and my friends are sitting there, and everyone's getting called, and I don't get called, and then all of a sudden Brewer's up there. So my buddies got, kind of pissed, and they went up to the person in charge, and they were like, what's going on? Our friend Rob is supposed to be doing stand-up, and they came up to me, and they were like, oh, you're supposed to be in a meeting before the show. And I was like, nobody told me that. So, of course I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, you can go on after Brewer. And I'm like, I'm not going up after Brewer. He's killing. And I'm not going up after that and just bombing. Right. So they offered for me to come back. The guy was really nice that owned the club. And he's like, you can come back anytime and do it. I just never went back up to do it.
Yeah. It's an interesting experience. I did it for a while. And I'll tell you, a dry audition is really weird. I don't know. You go into these clubs and they say, all right, let's, here's some of your material. And you go up on the stage and there's nobody in the room. There's like maybe, the manager, maybe the club owner and somebody else sitting there, and that's it. And you're in this dead silence. And you go up there and you start doing your material and nobody laughs. They just, yeah, okay, that's funny. We'll see you here at 7:00 tonight. It's just really, it's really strange. But once you get past that, it can be a really rewarding experience. I would encourage you to do it. It's a little different than being funny socially. A lot of times people who are funny socially don't make the best comedians.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah. I've heard, if your friends tell you, you should do it, don't do it for that reason. Because most likely you're going to suck. Yeah,
and going up there and setting up a joke and all that takes some practice. And you have to find an angle, and it's a lot harder. And if you have a tough crowd, it's even worse. I worked a couple nights where I don't like hecklers. Now, I've had pros tell me that sometimes a heckler can save your night.
Yeah.
Now, you seem like the kind of guy that would handle a heckler well. You could probably chop somebody up.
I think I would love that. That would be something I would thrive with.
When you did radio, were you like one of the morning zoo guys? Was that your function?
Yeah, I did a morning show with the guy that did the morning show. He brought me on. Okay. So I did segments and skits and all that with him, and so I did that, and I was always a fan of Howard. That's just a show off of.
Right.
Like a morning show.
Well, that's cool. Rob, you guys have a fantastic show. Now, where exactly can people find your show that want to check it out?
I just tell everyone on whatever, just search Rob and Slim. You could just Google us or on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, all that good stuff. We put up individual interviews and like skits. And like I said, you just search on anything.
Right.
Rob and Slim or Rob and Slim Show.
Yeah. Now you're at Rob and Slim Show on Twitter. Any other social media that you're on?
Yeah, Facebook, it's Rob and Slim. What is it on Instagram? I think it's Rob and Slim. Let me see. I'm bringing it up right now. Yeah, just Rob and Slim. And TikTok, I think, is also just Rob and Slim.
Yeah, you guys are on TikTok now. I want to ask you about that. First of all, with Twitter. Don't want to get political, but there's absolutely no question. Everybody that I've talked to that's been on Twitter any length of time agrees that after 2016, the what's the word I'm looking for? The atmosphere, the feeling on Twitter changed.
Oh, it used to be fun. I used to enjoy it. I avoid it now for the most part. Unless I'm booking guests or tweeting the show, I don't even go on there.
Yeah. So I take it you've encountered some negativity.
Well, that and also, it's like that and just not fun anymore. There used to be fun hashtags all the time to like riff on and come up with stuff. But no, I don't even remember the last time I've even done, fun hashtags.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a shame because it was a fun platform. And that's true of all social media now. It's been, everything is so polarized now. You can't say the sky is blue without, pissing somebody off. And that's a shame. Now, how has TikTok worked for you? Because and I find this curious because I've heard mixed things about how it works for podcasters. I've had some tell me it's great, and I've had other ones tell me no, not so much. So how has it been for you?
I just there was a point where I was just Twitter and Facebook, and I'm like, I don't need any more social media because this is like a lot of my life. But then I got Insta, and I just started on Instagram. Just every week, Slim does a segment where he does a character called the Driz, and he reads song lyrics. So I would just take a little clip from that and upload it to Instagram, and I just use that and put it on there. So that's basically all I'm doing there. But I'm getting a lot of likes and views on it. It's been decent. Nothing like spectacular, but it's been decent enough.
Okay, cool. All right, we have been talking to Rob, and he is one half of the Rob and Slim Show. Here again, to find this show, you can just Google it. It's on pretty much all of the major podcasting networks. You can find him on Twitter at Rob and Slim Show. Rob, it's been great having you, and I know you're gearing up for the 2020 fall season, and I wish you much success, my friend.
Thank you so much, Billy. You're a great host, and it's been great talking to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Once again, I am Billy Dees, and you can find me on Twitter at Billy Dees. And I've just started this YouTube thing. For whatever reason, I've just been too busy the last couple of years to maintain too many things, just like Rob alluded to. But I am on YouTube now. Just started a Facebook page. You can find the Billy Dees podcast, all those places. But here again, all our heavy listens come from Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and those two primarily, and a couple of others, TuneIn and iHeartRadio on down the line. I am Billy Dees. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll talk to you again next week. Well, hello everyone. I am Billy Dees from the self-titled Billy Dees podcast. You can find me on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and many more of the best podcast networks. Join me for my commentary and interviews. Follow me on Twitter, real easy to find, at Billy Dees. I am Billy Dees. I'd love to have you listen in.